if you don't get on the AI train, like, man, are you going to get left behind as a business now? Because it is eating up and chewing up positions. I mean, it is advancing things so fast in business. Like, if you don't learn how to use AI very, very soon, if you aren't yet, like, you are going to get blown away by the companies that are. I mean, that's just fact. And we're starting to see it already.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome to the Small Business Black Holes, the podcast that shines a light on the hidden challenges of scaling a business. Hosted by Alan Pence, each episode explores the critical shifts entrepreneurs make as they grow beyond $1 million, $5 million, even $30 million, and move from brute force to sustainable professional growth. Stay with us as we uncover what it really takes to escape the black holes of business and scale with intention.
All right, we are back on the Small Business Black Holes podcast. Today, I have all the way from sunny Fargo, North Dakota, I have Patrick Metzger, who is with growingforsuccess.com. So he is a business coach and valuation expert. He does a bunch of different stuff. So we're going to learn all about it today. So Patrick, welcome to the pod.
Yeah, thanks so much, Alan, for having me.
Yeah, excellent. And we already had a laugh about the movie Fargo and how anyone who lives there can never get away from the movie for their entire life. So we're not going to talk about that today. We're going to spare Patrick the pain of reliving that. So Patrick, give us a quick overview. So it sounds like you do EOS, Value Builder. What else is in your portfolio?
Yeah, also a certified exit planning advisor. We do some different workshops, trainings around team health, communication. We love Patrick Lencioni's stuff, 6 types of working genius, 5 dysfunctions. But really everything we do really ties into that one core piece of how do we grow your business to that next stage. So really identifying where a company, where an owner is at, and saying, hey, what is the next thing for you? You know, whether you're coming up with a business concept and you really want to launch the idea, whether you are growing, scaling, want to really kind of take the next stage as far as, you know, expanding geographics, market offerings, or maybe you're an owner that is, you know, getting toward the end and starting to think about exit succession and saying, hey, how do I do this? Where do I start? You know, how do I extract the most value out of my company?
And so when people are coming to you, so I guess there's a couple of different things, right? Because you're also selling as well as coaching businesses. What's usually like the presenting issue that you see that drives them?
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things is just owners bottlenecking things. I mean, so much, you know, owners get in their own way a ton. You know, they're control freaks in a good way. I mean, in the nicest of ways, seriously. You know, they've birthed these things many times from the beginning. They have trouble getting out of it. They have trouble getting, especially the right people in the right seats on their team that they trust, that they can delegate things off to. When it comes to the exit succession piece, that specifically, there's a massive lack of education and knowing what people's options are as an owner. You know, what are my options? We find, especially with owners, they are not aware of what realistically, you know, what's the time frame to exit? What can I actually do? You know, we have a lot of owners that think like, oh, I'm going to ESOP my business because I've heard of that. It sounds neat. And I know there's tax savings. And it's like, well, you don't have the cash flow. You don't have enough people in your business. I mean, they're expensive to do. So, and they just wait way too long, many times, you know, and that's just the exit succession piece in particular. You know, if you look at earlier stage companies, a lot of those really struggle with having the right structure in place that can really support true scalability, growth, building value along the way. And then obviously, you know, people make everything go, but just processes. You know, a lot of businesses really lack good, hardcore documented processes, playbooking their business. Because when you do that, you have that internal quality control established. You also have a ton of value behind your business as well. As soon as we can get that owner, what I always call wanted in the business, but never needed.
Yeah. So I guess that's pretty much the kind of stuff I see all the time too, right? It's like owners are great, particularly bootstrap, you know, people they've built a business through hustling. They're usually pretty good at sales, and they kind of just patch stuff together and do it, right? They don't always wait for the perfect solution, right? Or else they never would have started their company. So all those things are like amazing attributes, but they all get in your way after you grow, right? So like there comes a point where patching it together and finding the cheap solution that hustles your way along is not the right solution anymore, right? Because now you need real people, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, things shift as your business shifts, and a lot of owners have trouble kind of coming to grasps on that, whether, the people that started the business, the initial team, many times it can get outgrown quickly, and you need different level leaders, you need higher level leaders, you need more knowledge, you need more expertise. Your processes, we really, really push teams and owners, businesses to really keep things as simple as possible. EOS is a massive chunk of what we do. So it's always about less is more, keeping things really, really simple. But as your business grows and naturally gets more complicated, it's hard for a lot of owners to really keep things as simple as they can. And they start out trying to keep things simple, but it naturally complicates. So it really takes outside perspective, help, expertise in, us coming in and saying, hey, let's figure out where are we at, what do we need to do, like I said, to get to that next stage. But we got to look at people, we got to look at processes, we got to look at the quality of your revenue, the value of your revenue, the risk and diversity that you have or don't have within your business. There's a lot of things that start to play into it. And, especially if you want to be one of my favorite words is intentionality. If you really want to be intentional about what you are trying to create, you got to do things very specifically in certain manners. And a lot of business owners we see, they either aren't real clear on their vision, or they're not real sure what they're being intentional about. They're trying to grow their business, trying to create cash flow. They're trying to make it profitable, but a lot of them really miss hey, what's beyond that way down the road for this business when at some point I'm going to exit it, whether it's my choice or not. You have to set things up for success very early on, and it's going to morph as you go.
Yeah, exactly. And I find like sort of the typical phases, and I'll be curious to get your feedback on this. Where like, I think companies kind of hit like 1 million bootstrapped, and that's like, that's a place where the owner can kind of just brute force everything and do everything. And maybe they have like an admin or a couple things like that, but they can kind of get it there. And then like, if they're able to then kind of bring in a few supporting casts, they can usually get to like 2 to 3 million. And that's when they start running into like operational overload. So like they've been able to sell, but now operation starts getting crazy because they don't have qualified staff, right? That can handle it.
The people management issues and just the right people issues they run into that really hold them back.
Yeah, exactly. And then I see if they can kind of make a good hire there or something, they kind of get past that phase. And then they kind of get around 5 plus. And then it becomes about, like maybe founder-led sales isn't everything now. I need to have like a more structured process. And maybe these people that helped me kind of firefight my way here aren't really the people to like run all the key functions in the company going forward. So I find this like, they've got to change over the team. They got to change their role. They got to change their processes at every one of these inflection points. And they like, I don't know if it's the stats out there. I can't remember who put them together, but it's like 30 million small businesses, 4% make like, 4% make 1 million. And by the time you get to 10 million, it's 0.04%. And it's because they just can't make those decisions, right? Or they won't. And a lot of times they know what they are, right? I mean, how many, like, do you go in and see like are they blind to it? Or is it just, they just don't want to face up to the problems they have usually?
It's some of both. Some owners, some businesses have, everyone has trouble seeing, just what's in front of you because you can't see it from the inside out. That's where the outside perspective is so valuable. Some, even if when you show it to them or they think it exists, they have a feeling it exists, they kind of want to deny it uh, for whatever reason, because they don't want the baby called ugly, or they're afraid of the work that it's going to take to ship things to that next level. So various reasons why different owners will approach things in different manners. There's a lot that lies under the surface too. I mean, you have the business, you have people's personal lives, you have families involved. There's a lot of things going on in small business. There's a lot of variables and plates to spin and consider, as we're working with teams. But one of the things we really love doing is we take a really holistic view of kind of the whole picture of what's going on. An owner's personal life, the business. What do they want down the road? Their people. Not just giving owners also the systems and tools they need for that next level, but looking at everything for what it really is, all the way to the personalities they have within their teams and how those things mesh and how they don't mesh. And so, yeah, we always really, really stress a really big holistic view of just business, and that's why businesses love working with us. We just had a company from Ohio reach out to us, and we were kind of telling them our pitch, about how we do things and what's important to us and our values and things. And they actually told us, they're like, man, you guys, we love like the holistic approach that you guys really look at everything with, especially from a eventual exit succession lens too. That's really important to us.
That's great. So what are you seeing now? Like, I'm kind of curious on two fronts. First is kind of near and dear to my heart has been working with artificial intelligence over the last couple of months. And I really feel like things have accelerated quite a bit, even from just the beginning of the year. And so I've been working with the new like O3 model from OpenAI, and I kind of seeing now, like I think physical industries, maybe retail, maybe not quite as affected or highly regulated. But I feel like the B2B professional services is about to get hit by a tsunami of like, I can go use ChatGPT to do best practices on how to do marketing and like go get it to start doing not all of my marketing, but half of it. And like, am I going to go pay someone $5,000 a month if I can do half of the work for a $20 or $200 a month subscription? Have you seen people starting to think through this yet, or is it? I don't get the sense that people understand what's coming soon all that well.
Yeah, no, you bring up a great point. It feels like there's like two groups. There's the group that is really diving in with it and they're really learning how to use it. Like you said, they're using it to, I can't say the max, but I mean, they're diving in deep. They're using it to build out the bones of a lot of things, like you said, whether it's marketing, whether it's processes, whether it's refining data. A lot of companies are dealing with also, the compliance piece too of what's going on with AI. Like all the banks we work with are trying to figure out like, how can we use this, but yet protect, obviously the data and the compliance piece behind it. And then it seems like you have this other party that doesn't really want to touch it. Or they're like, well, we don't really know how to use it, so we're just going to pretend like it doesn't exist. But oh my God, it's like, if you don't get on the AI train, like, man, are you going to get left behind as a business now? Because it is eating up and chewing up positions. I mean, it is advancing things so fast in business. Like if you don't learn how to use AI very, very soon, if you aren't yet, like you are going to get blown away by the companies that are. I mean, that's just fact. And we're starting to see it already.
Yeah. And, so I'm working on a product actually to help small companies start deploying AI faster, and particularly professional services and sort of B2B stuff. So I've been super interested in kind of where this is going. So if you're interested, let me know. You can reach out to ownerinstitute.com. But yeah, I do feel like there's a lot of just either it's denial or just deliberate ignorance on how powerful it is. And I think what you're going to see is high agency people are going to use these things, and they're going to be able to reach and serve more people, cut their price, and make more money all at the same time. And like, if your competitor is able to do all three of those things and you're not, you're done. They're going to be able to serve your current customer faster at a cheaper price and more effectively, right? So anyway,
Yeah, no, I don't think it's a ignorance thing. I think part of it is your smaller business owners, they are so busy and they're, I mean, toiling in the day to day, where I think a lot of them struggle to like, when am I going to find the time to really dive deep into this? When am I going to find the time to learn it, to actually implement it, to play with it? So I think they're just kind of like, oh, I'll just like, I don't know, I don't have the time for it, so I'm just not going to mess with it, period. And I really encourage, I mean, anyone, yeah, listening to this, like if you're in that boat, you better stop and you better start taking the time to learn it, because there are small businesses that are using it. And like I said, they're using it to really optimize profitability, communication. I mean, the virtual help desks and things, I can't believe the difference that I'm seeing in those, the AI capabilities of those, as people are, searching for questions, within like, basically like a automated online customer service. I mean, they're literally replacing people because the AI is getting so crazy efficient and accurate in helping customers get 99% of the way there. And there's nobody behind it. It's all AI'd.
yeah, I mean, it's incredible, right? Klaviyo, or I think it was them that came out and said they replaced 75% of their customer service team. And like just the other day, I started, I do sales calls for my business, and I started feeding the transcripts into ChatGPT, and then I did a deep research report on best sales tactics, right? Best of breed. And then I had it help me create scripts, and now I have it judge me against the scripts, scores me on every call, and then it suggests key improvements, and then it suggests changes to the scripts. And so like, I'm becoming I actually should do it for podcasts. Like, how could I be a better podcast interviewer, right? And like, you can just start iterating and become the best salesperson in the world in like a matter of weeks, because you've got the best coach in the world. And it's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a company that's plugging in all their sales calls because they record all of them. And then they're saying, find the differentiators on the ones that are closing and are not. What are the buzzwords? What are the phrases we're using or not? So they're starting to optimize their close rate, and now it's not a sales manager having to listen to every single call. The AI is chewing through it first and then just teeing it up on a platter. Here's what I'm seeing. Here's what I'm hearing. Here's what's going on in your sales calls.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how I see it evolving. Cause like you can do that with emails. You can do it with, I've been building one for, prepping for quarterly meetings. So I take all our L10 meetings and go through them and identify trends and blind spots, and actually do a deep research report on our industry and do a SWOT, and then bring that into our quarterly or annual meeting. And it's like the level of and then I have it take personas of like influential founders like Jeff Bezos versus Steve Jobs versus Elon Musk. And it gives you like a level of insight that you would never get like outside of working with all those people, right?
Yeah, it's so good at pulling trends and themes around whether it's info, whether it's data, whether it's a written communication. Yeah, it's wild. I mean, I was literally just talking with someone the other day. I said, ChatGPT, only came out 2.5 years ago, I think it is now. How it has advanced over that time is insane.
It's crazy. Yeah, I was saying today, I wonder how much smarter it's going to get. Like, it's like the O3 model now is scary smart. But I think yeah, exactly, right? But I think its capabilities can increase, right? So like, it just started remembering things about me, but it doesn't remember that much, right? So that will get better over time. And then I started thinking, well, right now it does really good formatting, and like, I basically don't want to use Docs or Excel anymore, right? I just want to work in ChatGPT. So document management and sharing and collaboration, that can get better. So it's a lot of or like just like knowing you, knowing your contacts, being able to like get into your workflow. That's almost like where the gold is now. I don't know how much smarter the thing is going to get, but maybe I'm wrong. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's quickly replacing Google. I mean, on a lot of fronts. I mean, I'm starting to use it a lot more for just general search functionality. I mean, find this data, pull this for me. Yeah.
So so switching from the other kind of thing I was wondering is like, what are you seeing out of the economy these days? Like, are you getting, you're probably working with a broad swath of different kinds of companies. Like, are you seeing certain trends or?
Yeah, we're industry agnostic. So I mean, we work with everyone from, a solopreneur marketer to we're starting with a $10 billion bank here. I mean, shortly, and everything in between. So the last, 3 months, we kind of judge everything based on, like a lot of people do, what we see kind of in like construction, general contracting space. I mean, and real estate really kind of sets the tone for everything. And what we are hearing, in all those industries and beyond, is there's a lot of hesitancy, from election. And then once the election went through, I think things loosened a little bit. But then all this tariff stuff started and people were kind of feeling out, how this administration was going to address things. But I feel like in just the last couple months, especially, I feel like people are starting to get more comfortable and they're starting to realize like, okay, this is kind of just where things are going to be at. Because there were still a lot of people worried about supply chain and still seeing, some supply chain disruption type stuff. But we are hearing, directly from our clients that things are, yes, they are starting to take off in the right direction. There's just more confidence building in, hey, it might not get, crazy better, but it feels like things aren't going to get worse than they are. So it feels like things are kind of slowly unwinding and picking up pace here. And we're hearing that directly from clients, I guess.
That's good. So we might see a little like growth into the end of the year. And are people feeling like a pinch on tariffs at all at this point? Or, I guess they're at 12% now from 2% on average, I read.
Yeah, the individuals or the companies that really were proactive and thought things through in advance, that got, bulk product or whatever. They're obviously in a better place. But there's definitely a lot of talk and uncertainty around that. But just in the last couple of weeks, even, everything you see kind of in the media around tariffs and stuff, it got really hot for a while. And now it feels like, okay, we're on a good trend toward hopefully, that not having a massive impact at least. But we definitely have some industries that saw a huge crunch, a month, 2 months ago for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So switching topics. So you do a lot of stuff with Value Builder and your certified exit planner. And Value Builder is a system that a guy named John Warlow developed he has a podcast and book called Built to Sell. So I highly recommend it. He's great. So what are you seeing in the like sort of small M&A market these days? Like, I've been tracking over the last few years, just like the whole search movement going around. There's been some changes with SBA and 7A loans and stuff like that. Are you still seeing and obviously debt is a lot more expensive these days. So you're still seeing a pretty healthy M&A market?
Yeah, there is. We see more and more private equity companies, especially ones that are looking for smaller companies, and we primarily work with, smaller type businesses, typically, 100 million and under in revenue. But it seems like, a lot of these private equity companies are coming for smaller and smaller companies, trying to grab them earlier and earlier. And I don't know if that's, nationwide trend or whatever, but it seems like we are seeing more of that, hearing more of that from our clients, definitely.
Interesting. And so when you're taking somebody through the sale process, like I would almost like just personally, as somebody who's looked at buying businesses, I would probably be much more interested in the business that had gone through one of your cycles, right? Because anytime I've had an off market deal, or some opportunity like that, the seller is just so either unrealistic, doesn't really know how things are going to play out, or you're going to get left at the altar after doing a bunch of work because they're not really serious about selling. So what are the common things you kind of walk sellers through that they've got to do to maximize value?
Yeah. So our role in that process really is helping them through, that initial triggering event. So getting a business valuation, looking at your personal, financial business readiness, and then implementing, EOS and or value builder, and really helping them, number one, start to de-risk their business. So that's always the first step, is start to de-risk things, identify, what are the red flags going to be for either, just you as a business owner right out the gate, and especially then for a buyer, looking at your business, and then starting to focus on tightening everything up, tightening up processes, making sure we have a really strong leadership team in place. While we're doing all that for the business, we're also working with that owner on what does this look like post sale for you too, from a personal perspective. So it's really us kind of playing quarterback in that process of working with that exit team and pulling everything together in the right time frames, so that it's not a long, drawn out, overextended process, because that never goes well, and that we're actually raising the value of that company, so we can get a higher multiple, or make it more desirable to that buyer, obviously.
And would you say it's still largely a seller's market kind of thing?
Man, that's so dependent on industry, and there's just so many variables that go into business sales. Some industries, like technology, can be so crazy desirable with massive multiples. And then others, you think, some of these businesses that are cash spigots and you think would be really desirable, but there's not a lot of, soon as your owner disappears or you lose a key person or two, there's just not much value left in those things at all. And that's why we really push, especially early stage businesses, into how do we make this thing desirable down the road? Because you never know when something will happen, whether it's you're exiting by your choice or whether it's, the 5 Ds, the death, the disability, the divorce. You name all of them. You never know when any of that stuff is going to happen. We've seen it. We've worked with companies that have experienced that stuff. Owners that want to split, but they can't because they're equal shares and no one can agree to how this is going to work out. Or so there's a lot of things that play into it. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think, it strikes me that there's a swath of companies that are unsellable, right? Unsellable. And then all the ones that are sellable have like 18 offers on them, right? And it's like, feels like this very bifurcated market. And to be honest, I just walked out of it, and I was doing some search type investments, and I've stopped looking at it really, because I feel like there's almost a premium today on starting a company. So if everyone's demanding like a good company to buy, then you should supply it, right? So I would say for the enterprising entrepreneur now, use AI, go out and figure out how to like serve customers. You can get a level of knowledge faster than ever before, and then use the principles of like Value Builder and EOS and others to like build a company that's sellable. There's probably much more value in that than picking like some great company, because you're gonna have to pay multiples.
And there seems to be, obviously there's different approaches, but I don't think business owners think about their approach enough, as they're A, starting for sure, but B, as they're building even, are you building it for an ESOP? Are you building it to pass it down to family? Are you building it for, a third party strategic buyer? There's different approaches. Yes, you can raise the value no matter what, but there's different approaches that those buyers or those plans look for specifically, and you'd want to be intentional about what you maybe have an idea of where you'd want to go with something. But it seems like, again, kind of there's kind of two boats. There's one where there's just not a whole lot of intentionality and we're just going to run the business and whatever happens is going to happen at some point. And then those, I mean, you see it in a lot of like tech companies, like the second they start up, like they know they're starting it to sell it off to private equity, hopefully in 3 to 5 years or something. So that education piece is just so important at the beginning. And like I said, there's not enough of it out there. I think owners really need to be more intentional about diving into some of that a lot earlier.
So do you think you could, like, given that a company is like profitable or something, do you think like almost any company, if it does the stuff that you're supposed to and value builder and other things, can be saleable? Or are there just certain kinds of companies that it's like, this is just not a company you're going to transact?
So much of it comes down to, is the owner willing to work themselves out, or are key people willing to work themselves out? Because so many times we see businesses where they fail to pass off, the key relationships, or the owner is so entrenched in everything and they refuse to get out, or they refuse to pass off relationships, or they refuse to really systemize the business. Where, I mean, you could have 7 figures of profitability in the business, but there's just not a lot of value there. Someone might buy it because, you have a really nice client book and stuff, but there's not a lot of blue sky there, but, sometimes.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, Patrick, this has been great. I appreciate you taking the time to come on the podcast. If people want to reach out for EOS stuff or the the exit kind of work, what best way to get to you?
Yeah, just hit us on our website, growingforsuccess.com. That's the number 4 in the middle. We do a free growth call with any owners, any organizations. From there, we kind of dig into what do you actually really potentially need. We don't just throw systems, programs at people. We really dive in with someone first and ask a lot of key questions as to, what are you trying to be intentional about? What do you want? What are your goals? What are your timelines on things? And then from there, we really kind of decipher, hey, this might be best, or hey, let's build out something custom for you, and kind of direct from there.
Cool. Well, very good. All right. Well, if you need that stuff, reach out to Patrick, growth4success with the number 4.com. And Patrick, thanks for being on the pod.
Hey, thanks, Alan.
You've been listening to the Small Business Black Holes podcast with Alan Pence. For more insights on mastering the new game, follow @apent, that's APENTZ on X, and make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss a single episode. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, in today's world, you don't follow the rules, you write them.